Ed Ogeron, you are a fine man. You're an upstanding man. Your kids love you. They play hard for you. They run through a brick wall, the proverbial brick wall for you. Hire a game manager. Just like Les Miles, Ed Ogeron is making mistakes in game and time management, not necessarily time in this situation, but game management. Hire a game manager, lead the football team, be the CEO, lead it from the tree top view, and then also lead it in regards to inspiration and motivation for the young men and leading the direction of the program. Hire a game manager. LSU loses to Notre Dame 21-17 at the Citrus Bowl. So what happened late in this game was something that transpired time and time and time again throughout the game, and that's with a 14-all game. Late in the game, LSU is driving down the field at will, methodically moving the ball down the field as they did on their touchdown drives, getting Danny Etling outside of the pocket, Darius Geis a factor in the passing game, and of course running the ball, and Williams, his backup as well, having a fine day for LSU. They get down to the basically 1-inch line. I don't even know where they would have marked the ball. It would have been rubbed against the white chalk of the goal line with 2.5 minutes left to play, tied at 14. 4th and inches. I understand that if you don't score, you look stupid. It's still 14-14. This is the reason you go for it, because Notre Dame drove down the field after you kicked the field goal and scored the game-winning touchdown. Had you scored a touchdown, they would have only tied the game, or they would have had to go for a 2-point conversion and risked losing the game. You would have ensured a tie at the very least. You also, had you been stopped, you would have given Notre Dame the ball up at the inch-yard line, at their own inch-yard line, with your good defense going up against their offense in the sloppy conditions that we didn't see anybody scoring for almost a half in this game. LSU would have been in great shape. And then on top of that, I'm not even taking the field goal kicking into consideration. That was atrocious for LSU and lost them the game. And you trotted that kid back out there. Jack Gooselin goes back out there, and he hooks it and barely makes a 19-yard field goal to give you the 17-14 lead. You give it up anyway, and you lose 21-17. All right, let's go through this one. First of all, the players missing were also another key, pardon the pun, key to this game. Arden Key, maybe when he's healthy and right and thinking and focused on the game and engaged, one of the best pass rushers in college football, if not the best. He had 5.5 tackles for loss and 4 sacks this season, but that pales in comparison to his talent. He only played 8 games this year, but he's been nicked up and chose not to play in the game. It was only announced about 15 hours before kickoff. In addition to Arden Key, Donnie Alexander did not play. 51 tackles for him at the linebacking position, and also Corey Thompson, who had 43 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, and 6 sacks. LSU missing its linebacking core against a run-heavy Josh Adams Notre Dame team. But to be fair, Notre Dame also suspending players that were key, maybe not to that extent. We're talking about one of the best players in college football and 2 impact players at linebacker. But for Notre Dame, Deion McIntosh, who was little used against the best teams on Notre Dame's schedule, but still ran for 368 yards and 5 touchdowns, suspended, as well as C.J. Holmes, a backup running back who plays on special teams. Elise Mack, 19 catches and a touchdown. But Kevin Stefferson made some plays this year in the passing game, 19 catches, 5 touchdowns for Notre Dame. They did not play. All right, to the action on the field. Also have to consider that Niles Morgan, Notre Dame's defensive MVP this season, was stripped of his captaincy and replaced by Tavon Coney, who by all accounts had a really nice day, the junior did, in replacing Niles Morgan. All right. Game starts, and it's obvious that these two teams are going to be conservative offensively, as we expected. The running game would play into it heavily for both sides. Darius Geis and Josh Adams, 2 of the best in the biz. Limited play at quarterback. Of course, Danny Etling athletically. Brandon Wimbush from the standpoint of he's scattershot all over the field, and him leaving the game and Notre Dame going with Ian Book probably saved it for the Irish. This was a field position game. Josh Adams at one point and Brandon Wimbush moved the ball out to the 50-yard line from their own 1-yard line. That was key in a game that, again, had next to no scoring in the first half. There were a number of gaffes by the LSU special teams. DJ Chark, I'm not going to completely fault him for this because it was a unique situation, him fielding the ball at his own 1.5-yard line on a punt, which is a complete no-no. But the ball was basically bounding almost to a stop and looked like it was going to be downed by the Notre Dame player at the 1-yard line. And LSU did have a blocker, potential blocker there. So Chark picked it up thinking, I've got a blocker between me and the Notre Dame player, picked it up, but he was thrown down at the 2 or 3 yard line. That happened. Also, he muffed a punt. Also, there was a ball that LSU punted that was bounding and hopping 5-6 feet into the air that should have been let go. And the LSU player stopped it at the 20-yard line for some reason. So a number of gaffes by the LSU special teams. LSU got a drive going. They move it down to the Notre Dame goal line. They had the false start by the fullback on that play that moved it back to the 5-yard line. They were going to go for it on 4th and inches, and they should have kept that mindset for the rest of the game. They missed the 19-yard field goal. So coming into this game, Connor Culp had hit on 11 of 15 field goals. Not bad. Not great, but not bad. Jack Gounsulin, 4 of 9 on the day, and he was the kicker of choice for Ed Ogeron. I don't know if there was an injury involved there, possibly. So LSU blows the 19-yard field goal, and in a game like this means a ton. This is not Oklahoma and Oklahoma State scoring 150 points. This means a lot, missing field goals in this game. Danny Etling comes back on the next drive, hits a 3rd and long play to D. Anderson, who made a great diving scoop catch off the turf for 30 yards, but they missed another field goal. So LSU should have been up 3-0 at least, probably 10-0 without the false start by the fullback. Okay, Ian Book comes into the game after Brandon Wimbush gave the Irish 3 for 8 passing, 52 yards. He was all over the place. It was awful. He did contribute, as he does as a runner, had a 31-yard run, moved the ball on the ground. Book comes in, good field position, moved the ball, got them into field goal range, got sacked by Alexander, which stopped the drive, but did make some plays. The Irish kick it from 48 yards, and it's 3-0 Notre Dame. After LSU, I don't want to say dominated the game, but they had the field position, and they had the game going their way. Okay, second half, you had a punt that kicked off Alexander for Notre Dame. LSU recovers at the 43. Darius Geis gets into the game and does his thing, catches the swing pass, goes 22 yards for the touchdown at 7-3. We finally get some juice and some life to this game. Notre Dame goes down running and passing, but then Ian Book throws a very ill-advised pass, and Greedy Williams is just waiting in coverage, just playing off his man, floats to the football, picks it off at the sideline inside the 10-yard line. The one thing that did, though, based on the Notre Dame defense sacking Danny Etling on the 3rd and long, was that flipped field position. As Notre Dame drove it, LSU couldn't move it from its end, and despite giving up the interception, Notre Dame flipped the field, got the field goal on the next drive to make it 7-6. All right, little juice out of the two offenses in the fourth quarter, with LSU going 12 plays for 75 yards. Danny Etling was a sitting duck in the pocket, didn't have a whole lot of time to throw. They started to move him around. I don't know why more teams don't go. You can't do it constantly, but 3 to 4 times a game, if you've got a reliable tight end, go to the reverse bootleg. The play action, reverse it out. The tight end's wide open. It happens all the time. LSU used that once or twice. And Darius Geis, again, for his second receiving touchdown, makes it 14-6 LSU. But Notre Dame comes back. They go 12 plays for 75 yards. They get Dexter Williams involved in the running game. Josh Adams, only 15 carries for 44 yards. He's the big bowling ball. physical back that you would think in this type of game with the three linebackers out, plus the game conditions, the weather conditions, the field conditions, that Josh Adams might have been more effective running behind two All-America offensive linemen. He was not. Dexter Williams got things going, though, for the Irish to make it 14-all when they got the 2-point conversion play. Ian Book, really nice job on the touchdown pass where he was flush left, was pinned against the sideline, found the receiver at the back of the end zone, and then they get the 2-point play on the shovel pass to Josh Adams to make it 14-all. Then sets up the infamous LSU drive. Darius Geis, 21 carries, 98 yards. He played heavily in this drive. Again, they went with Danny Etling out of the pocket, and they get down to the inch line. If you saw the replay, Geis, it was reviewed a number of times. Of course, any scoring plays or balls now down near the goal line are going to be reviewed in the booth. But Geis came up that short, and LSU, despite all these gaps in the kicking game, despite the situation that I just outlined in regards to, number one, you give yourself a touchdown lead. You are inches away from the goal line. You have missed 3 kicks already inside the 5-yard line, missed easy kicks. And even if you don't make it, there's 2.5 and change, 2 and change on the clock, and you're burying Notre Dame at its own half-yard line. You get the defensive stop, you get the ball at the 40 or 45-yard line, and you're back in business, even if you miss the conversion. But what happens is they do kick the field goal. They do make it. I'm sure Ed Ogeron should have been sweating bullets. The kid barely made a 17-yard field goal, which I didn't think there was a possibility of a 17-yard field goal, but that's the way they listed it on the broadcast. Should have been a 19-yard field goal. But Notre Dame comes back down 17-14, 2.5 minutes left to play. And after they get the 18-yard play that was key to Chris Finke, his first catch of the day, Miles Boykin makes the play of the day. Outmaneuvers Jackson and the other DB, catches it one-handed, just too big and strong for Jackson, who's one of the best cover corners in college football. But then the two defensive backs collide, and Boykin's off to the races. 3 catches for 102 yards, plus the big 50-yarder to win the game. And LSU got it back, not with plenty of time, but with time, 2 timeouts, and $1:20 left on the clock. And another reason why they could have stopped Notre Dame and gone for the touchdown and still had their defense with 2 timeouts and 2 minutes left to play. LSU falls to 9-4, losing to Notre Dame 21-17. The Irish with a big win to go to 10-3. They had faded to a certain extent down the stretch after the big start against a tough, rugged schedule, defeating the likes of North Carolina State and USC, Michigan State as well, folding against the likes of Miami, of course, getting trounced in that game, and losing to Stanford in the finale. So Notre Dame finishes up at 10-3. That should put them on the periphery of the top 10. LSU drops to 9-4. Your thoughts about the LSU Tigers and Notre Dame as we continue our discussion of college football here on Mark Rogers TV. We enjoy your comments, your suggestions, your concerns, your questions, everything that you've got for us debating college football, the game we love. So more instant analysis coming up from South Carolina and Michigan right here on Mark Rogers TV.